Hello, everyone. Good afternoon. This is Vivian De Guzman, your TV host of My Spiritual GPS. So, My Spiritual GPS means it's like a God positioning system. If you think about your GPS in your car, you are where you are in your life, and at the same time, you have a destination that you'd like to reach. So, that destination is usually our aligned soul purpose. And we're doing the things that we truly love. We are surrounded by the people in our lives that truly make our life magical and give us so much joy, fun, and fulfillment. But sometimes in the middle of that, there is that clutter, difficulty, resistance, and obstacle, right? So these 3 points represent that GPS. And a lot of times these negative reactions, sensations, or situations are what points us to the right direction, because it's a way for us to recognize that we are not where we want to be, or we are not where we want to go yet. And so it brings us to our soul fulfilling alignment and purpose. So today is a very, very special show for My Spiritual GPS, because we are going to hear from a doctor who would actually share with us her journey on how she went from being a depleted doctor to an energized healer. And she's going to tell us a little bit about what MAGE is about. So I wanted to bring up Dr. Zume Zong. Dr. Zume, hello, how are you?
Hi, Vivian, how are you?
Good. Thanks for gracing our TV show today. And I wanted to introduce you to people, a little bit of what you do. Is that okay? So Dr. Zume Zong, aka Dr. Z, let's just make her Dr. Z, so much easier, right? She's been an immunologist, a medical school professor, and inventor before she decided to become a health and wellness coach. So she eventually found her passion and calling to be a transformational vision and purpose life coach. So she founded the HOE, Holistic Wellness LLC, and the Medicine Mage Academy with 12 renowned healers and practitioners. Wow, Dr. Z. So you're also the best-selling author of the book, The Joy of Letting Go of Your Biomedical Career, The Ultimate Quitter's Guide to Flourish Without the Burnout. And you're a fun archer, and I've seen you with your different colors through your archery, create these beautiful paintings that you post on Facebook. And I love all the colors and the beauty of what happens, right? You're not attached to what happens to those colors. It just kind of lands on your canvas. So that's amazing. And you live in Sharon, Massachusetts with your husband, your son, your daughter, and 2 lovebirds. Ooh, I love that. And that's about Dr. Z. So welcome, Dr. Z.
Thank you, Vivian, for inviting me here.
Awesome. So tell us a little bit of that burnout. Like, what is a burnout? I know a lot of people know what that is, but in your own words, can you please share with the audience a burnout? So perhaps they have something and they don't know they're getting there already. So yeah, share with them that.
Yeah, burnout, you probably heard a lot these days. Many professions, they feel the burnout. People usually describe burnout as a phenomenon in the work field, and it's not defined as a disease by WHO, but it's like a workplace phenomenon. And usually described as physical and mental exhaustion. But in the medical field, it become very dramatic in recent years. More than 60% of the physicians and healthcare workers experience burnout. And the recent development, there are many series coming out. The burnout for medical professions is actually more than just physical and mental exhaustion. And it is much deeper and fundamental that one of the leading professors they used to study PTSD in the army,
Mm-hmm.
and they describe medical doctors burnout as a moral injury. And
Wow.
so, so it's like the soldiers on the battlefield. They are debating the disalignment of their moral of killing and versus their loyalty to the commander, to the order, to the army, and to the cause of the war. But individually, they experience moral injury when they seeing a lot of killing, especially the civilians or all these. So this also right now is happening in our hospital, and the burnout can range from anxiety to depression, even suicidal.
Wow.
And I don't know if you heard about the news, even during the COVID pandemic, there was a New York doctor, the ER doctor, who I think her name is Dr. Brain, and she also had experience of COVID, and during this period and in the ER, and she eventually killed herself.
Wow. Yeah. Yeah, that was
And this is
devastating.
how devastating this is, and especially this pandemic is really putting our healthcare system under
Yeah.
very heavy test this time,
It
and
is. It is. And it's got it's bad, right?
Yeah. So
Yeah.
burnout essentially is a reflection of what our current system crisis.
Yes, definitely. And I remember we were having our faculty meeting. So I happened to be part of this Mage Academy. And we were having our meetings after meetings, and everybody was kind of sad, empathizing with that doctor. And then everybody also was like, oh my gosh, if they only knew something about what the new system that we're proposing would work, right, for everybody, then perhaps she doesn't have to take away or take out her own life in order for her to really just be in alignment with her values. So like you said, the moral injury is more, they're either out of alignment, they have their own moral values, right, the principles they hold for themselves. And a lot of the doctors that I have met, they are very, very loyal to helping someone. That's the reason why they became a doctor. That's why they took oath in helping this individual find their wellness, so to speak, right? But it doesn't always just depend on the doctor. In the new system, we're proposing that the client, the patient, and the doctor actually come hand in hand and come together to an agreed plan that both parties would actually help make it a reality, right? It's not up to the doctor or just up to the patient. It's both sides of the coin have to be working side by side for wellness to be delivered. Wow. Yeah. So that's kind of sad with all these things happening in traditional healthcare system. I think for me as a physical therapist, that's why I left long time ago that traditional healthcare, because it feels like a revolving door back and forth. It's like nobody, it's like the system is broken. Something has to be done. So then I kind of went into the holistic system, alternative healthcare practice, to help people really be aware that they have to play a part in their recovery, in their wellness. This is not a one-sided thing.
Yeah.
Definitely, yes. So Doc, tell us a little bit about this Medicine Mage. I know you wrote a book about it, and we want to know a little bit about that. What is that?
Yeah. So my new book is called The Medicine Mage, 12 Steps from Depleted Doctor to a Magic Healer of the New Earth.
Wow. That's nice.
The new book is going to coming out next month.
Oh,
mid-October.
All right, so tell us a little bit of the juicy stories inside. I heard about those juicy stories that even your editors are like, they can't put down the book, right?
Yeah. So like you just mentioned, I like your GPS story title of your show. It is really like you doctors, it's a revolving door, right? They just keep going around and around and couldn't get out. So in my first book, the last book of The Joy of Letting Go Your Biomedical Career, I was talking about the maze. So it's like a revolving door. They're lost in the maze, right? And that's they're burned out. So I don't know if you ever been to Vermont. They have this huge corn maze, right? And I was describing my experience when I was there. It's like in the middle of it, I really want to go out. I just don't want to finish the maze anymore. And they have this emergency exit door.
Okay.
So you can actually exit in the middle. You don't have to like finish like 3 hours of maze, right? If you want to quit. And they also have this panic bell. So if you ever get lost and get panic, you can strike it and they can get to rescue you. So it's really fun. So my first book is really about getting doctors in the middle of the crisis in the whole system, like a maze. Like you say, it's made for both the doctor and the patients as well. But especially for the medical doctors, if they are burned out, they really want to get out. So my first book is really giving them the exit door or panic bell, step by step how you exit the system, right? So the new book is really about when you exit the new system, what do you do? I really want the step-by-step getting you to the new system, right? So you don't get in the limbo, right? Between the old and the new. So the new book is really about you have to rise above the maze. So you can see the big picture beyond the maze. Say the maze is the old system. Now it's in crisis and chaos and all, and you want to get out. But you have to get above it to see the big picture. I call the maze is like the 3-dimensional world that we are all in it. 3D. And also, the traditional Western medicine or the system is based on the linear 3-dimensional logic thinking, right? But if you want to get to the new world, the new system that will not cause burnout or such misalignment, right? Moral injury, is you have to rise above and have an arrow view, like a 4D view. So in a 4-dimensional world, you not only can see the above the 3-dimensional maze, you can also understand all the things, what's going on. And then you experience things beyond this world. And this whole medicine mage is the word mage is really about magic. From the 3-dimensional old system, you look at what happened in the 4-dimension, you cannot explain it. You can also call it, you can only call it magic, like the magic healing or whatever, right? And you cannot explain because you're locked in the maze, right? You have to get out, and then you realize, oh, there is another world, totally different outside. And from that, you see things will be very different. So this is what the new book is about, bringing from a deplete doctor to a magic healer of the new world.
Perfect. Yeah, it's so true. Like if I was talking about these are transitions. So basically, medicine mage is a way for them to at least have a picture, like you said, like an eagle flying above this maze that, let's say, it's man-made and created, but now you're like a bird flying on top, 10,000, 20,000 foot view, so you can see the whole picture rather than, you know, when you're in between those walls and you're trying to navigate, that's very hard, right? And like you said, you may be having anxiety attacks or panic, and you just want to get out. By the way, for those of you that are in human design manifesting generators, that just means usually you can change your mind in the middle of anything. So just think about that, right? Like I'm a generator. which means when I get started on something, I make sure that I finish that. That's just like part of my design. But for those of you, perhaps giving yourself permission, because when your body doesn't feel good, let's say you're doing your job, whatever that is, and you just don't feel good anymore, like you're experiencing so many negative symptoms, usually that's a sign that what you're doing is somehow out of alignment from your soul. You're not supposed to be doing whatever you're doing. And of course, in our head, we can say, well, I took a vow, my parents, or I spent so much money doing this medical school, right? And what will my family think of me? What will my society think of me? So all these programs usually come into play. Or what would happen if I quit this job? All of those things are just your mind trying to trick you not to change. But when your physical body is giving you symptoms, you already know that something needs to change fast. Because otherwise, like Dr. Z was saying, you can have a little bit of anxiety all the way to depression, and then eventually life doesn't have any meaning or purpose, and that's how people get into suicide. They take their lives. So we want to be a way for you to have an intervention, right? Like, why don't you look at other ways of approaching things aside from just whatever you learned from you when you were younger? So why would anyone basically, Doc, want to be a medicine mage? And then another follow-up question is, do I have to be a healthcare professional? Like, do I have to be a doctor? Do I have to be a nurse? Like, do I have to have a title to even be part of this medicine mage? Like, what is this?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, like I mentioned, a medicine mage is really the future doctor, the future healers. And one way to describe what it is like is it's really my dream to end this crisis, like no more sick doctors taking care of sick patients.
Oh, very good.
Right. So if you look at the future image of a doctor or healer, they're invincible. They don't have to worry about being sick while treating other sick patients, like what people are experiencing. You know, those ER doctors right now, they're very insecure themselves, right? And the future doctor is very, feel invincible and very intuitive and self-sustaining. They're not sick, they're healthy and happy, and they can give the best to the patients. So they're mindful. If you look at the medicine mage, they're mindful, they're purposeful, they're composed, they're focused, they're placid, and they're wise and very magic. They intuitively know what to do with all the patients, right? And they don't do just mechanically follow the textbooks, right? And they're emphatic, and they're justice, and they're detached for a lot of things. They can easily let go. Right. And most importantly, like what we said about the mage and all these about things, it's really they live a multi-dimensional life. They're not just limit themselves to the smoothie. And that's why they feel very harmonious and invincible. So that's the picture. If you can see yourself being like that, a healer in the future.
Right. And it does take steps to get there also, because as we become more alive in our purpose. By the way, it's so interesting because I've seen so many healers. I've interviewed so many guests here that are amazing. When they are in alignment really with their purpose, what they are meant to do, it's so interesting that all the Dr. Z has mentioned, all those adjectives and characteristics show up. They're just magic when they show up, because they know that they are an instrument of God, is so to speak. That's the best way of saying it, right? They're just being who they are with whatever gifts God gave them, and they are so willing to share that with the world. That sounds like, just to summarize all those beautiful characteristics that you've mentioned.
Right. So really, like why would they want to be it? Of course, they want to
Yep.
really work away from the burnout, right? So, there are four kind of scenarios when the current medical professionals want to become medicine mage.
Okay.
One is those doctors who are burnt out, and this is actually in my book. I spent, I think, almost whole chapter talking about burnout is just not you're a failure, right? You failed in the system. I'm not strong enough. I'm not resilient enough. It is actually a sign that you outgrow your current career. And it's your body, just like you said, the body is asking for a better way to be healthy, and then you can promote health, right? So that's one scenario. The second scenario is for those doctors or healthcare professionals already see the system crisis, and they're really have a mission. Yes. They're seeking a bright future. How can we change the system or build a new system? And those who have this mission in their heart, and these are the ones also want to become the medicine mage. The third one scenario is the medical professionals who feel curious, and they already have this intuitive gift inside them. Right. Actually, many doctors, you probably one of them, right? Many doctors feel they actually have this intuition, but they're not allowed to use it, right? They were not trained to use it. So they actually experience some synchronicities, intuitive magic things in their life, but they never used it. They're curious. They want to know whether this is not some nonsense, but we actually can use them to help people. To be more healthy, right? So these are the third scenario that people really want to become a medicine mage. And the fourth one is actually very strong, if they feel very strong calling that really want to contribute to the big change of this world. And becoming a medicine mage is definitely will fulfill their calling if they are still interested in bringing health and wellness to this world. So those are the four scenarios I think why people want to become a medicine mage, leaving this old system.
Yep. Yeah, so I'm just going to summarize that again. So either you have some burnout symptoms already and your body's talking to you, you have a big mission perhaps, and you could not somehow get it out through whatever system you're in right now. And you'll feel that, by the way, even for me, I felt that as like a ceiling above my head. So it could be like a headache or some kind of a symptom like your eyes are getting blurry because you can't see the truth, right, in what you're doing. And then the fourth one is your strong calling. It's like your heart is almost beating out of your chest and saying, I got to do something else aside from what I'm doing now, because obviously it's not working. And by the way, when you try to rationalize that, we try that, right? Because doctors, healthcare people, I know because I've been there. It's like, well, it's just today. It's going to get better, Vivian, tomorrow. But tomorrow never comes. And then more symptoms show up like pain, numbness, tingling. Some people have cancer, a stroke, or some kind of a devastating disease. Please don't wait that long because that's really your body saying, that's not working. 2, that's not working, and then eventually your whole system doesn't work, and then your family suffers, your relationships, right? Your children, everything kind of all comes together. So even your money flow, it's like you're working hard, yet you can't get ahead. It's very, very interesting to see that your money, health, and relationships are so interrelated when you don't pay attention to little signs and symptoms that the universe is giving you. Isn't that true, Dr. Z?
Oh yeah, totally. That's why the whole point of being intuitive is really pay attention to those things, right? And oftentimes we're too busy and we're not paying attention to the message that we're receiving.
Exactly.
And then the message gets louder and louder, and until it's too late.
So true, so true. I remember one time I was doing a meditation. I was, even before, I'm very intuitive, but of course I wasn't listening at that time, right? And I was doing a little nature walk in the afternoon, and I heard this voice saying, go home by 3 p.m. And I said, I started arguing with whatever I heard. I said, what do you mean 3? My clients show up, or my patients show up in the clinic at 5 or 6, and I need to be there to treat them. That was my reasoning. And then in a few weeks or months, I found another physical therapist to replace me. But my control issue was so strong that I didn't want to let go of that responsibility, almost like I had to be there to monitor this therapist, which it's interesting because if you look at this, my statistics, my show up rate on the 5 and 6 p.m. started going down. So then I said, it must be the therapist. You know how you rationalize things? When in fact, I should have just be home at 3 to have time with my family, right? Because your kids get off school at 3. And it took me a while to listen to that. Like it took a whole dilemma of the money flow crashing down to realize that I needed to just listen to that voice. And when I actually gave myself more time, listened to the intuition, did more self-care, and reorganized my business, that's when it actually started changing for me. But it was nowadays, Doc, the change in frequency is very, very fast. So for those people that are in the intuitive field, you'll notice this time it's not a waiting game of months to years. It's like immediately you feel something in your body if you don't listen to your intuition. Like that's how fast the frequency is changing at this time. So, all right, Doc. So next up in our show is we're going to bring up some comments and questions that the viewers have for us. Perhaps they've experienced burnout, they've experienced a form of anxiety or depression or even thoughts of suicide, right? Amy, I'm going to bring up Amy in our group here so that she can bring up any questions or comments. Amy, do you have any questions for us?
Hi, Vivian. I'm not seeing any questions in the feed at this time.
No? Okay. Do you have any questions yourself for Dr. Z?
Oh, I've just been listening so intently. I am not in the medical field. However, I am an energy healer, and I myself have gone through periods where I was in deep depressions, and through my journey have brought myself out of that. And so just knowing and understanding that there is this other side to what we can bring to the world, where it's not just medical, you know, it's not, we don't have just the medical side helping and supporting those of us with those needs, but there's also this other element that we can bring in to the healing space, and to be able to bring those two together, it's fascinating to me.
And I know, Dr. Z, some of the patients, they just want a diagnosis, right? So can you enlighten us a little bit on, let's say, you know how some minds are really very busy, right? And sometimes they just need a label, a diagnosis, so that they can actually know what to do next. So they don't have to go straight traditional, or they can go hybrid of traditional and also holistic medicine. Like, what does that do, like, I guess, for our brain, if you have a specific label or a diagnosis?
Yeah, that's very good question. So, in the current old model of the healthcare system, we see disease very mechanically, right? We need to label them like a name, and then doctors can give a code, and then they can bill you, right? Medicine, with the medicine says I can kill this, right? Treat these kind of symptoms, and you have to match all of this. It's all very mechanical, right?
Right.
So there's two things in the medical world they don't want to talk about, and it's a headache to the system. One is the individual difference, patient's individual difference, right?
Sure.
And the two is they call you probably heard a lot, the placebo effect, right? These are the two killers of the mechanical system, because that doesn't work that way, right? So for the individual difference, like all the medicine has to be researched in the lab, right? And we do a lot of work is we trying to synchronize mechanically everything. All the mice, they have the same genetic makeup, right? And then we tested all the drugs for them and then see what's their effect. And we ideally, it should be perfect, because the doctors believe the genetic makeup will decide everything. If you have the same genetic makeup, you respond the same to the drug, right? But in reality, it's hardly that happens. Sure. And for example, we treat cancers. We put exactly the same cancer to all the different, say, genetic made up mice, but they don't give us the same response.
Yes.
So individual difference, we're talking about the mice with same genetic makeup. And then you talk about human with totally variations in their life, their lifestyle, their genetic makeup, everything's different. And then you want to apply the same drug to them. It's very problematic. So individual difference is a killer of this modern medicine. The other thing is the placebo effect. 90% of the drug doesn't get to pass by the FDA test, right? Okay. And the reason is because of the placebo effect. People call it as a sugar pill, right? So you give the drug to one test group, you give the sugar pill to other test group, and end up they have very similar effects that you're measuring. And you did all the decades of research is gone because of the placebo effect. Like the sugar
that's so true. That's so true.
Having the same effect, right?
Yes.
So
yes.
When you want to advise people to get a diagnosis, like, okay, doctor, tell me what disease I have, right? And there is an effect opposite to the placebo effect. It's called nocebo effect. So nocebo effect is negative expectation of the disease, right? The placebo is like I give you a sugar pill. I said, this is the treatment. You will feel better after taking this sugar pill, right? And then you have a positive expectation of the outcome. Okay. And that positive expectation actually has an effect, biological effect in your body. It miraculously cures a lot of disease. That's why 90% of drug doesn't work, right? So the nocebo effect is the opposite. If I tell you, this thing, if you do this bad thing is going to happen. And then you have a negative expectation of the outcome. And that also affects your biological system. True. And then things will get worse.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So be careful when we label a disease. We give them a diagnosis. And the patient immediately obtain a nocebo effect. They can immediately get online and check what is this disease all about. All they see is the horrible things about the symptoms and the outcome. Like if you diagnose, give you the cancer, like a late stage cancer, immediately the biologic system and psychological system collapse. And most of the patients get those diagnosed. Things gets worse right after.
Yeah, exactly.
Very speedy up, going down. So that's the nocebo effect. And in my book, I have a whole chapter about that, if you want to read that. And fascinating effect. And we, a lot of people did research about that and how just that exposure to the suggestion of the outcome will affect the outcome. And right now, when we look at the pandemic, we've been exposed a lot publicly in what is going to happen if you get this virus. And that itself has a nocebo effect in our brain. So
I
be
agree.
very careful when we put a label. We have to help patients to deal with that nocebo effect.
So yeah, perhaps the clients can actually. So I'll talk about this on the metaphysical side, right? Because we just came back from our Sedona retreat last week, and our spiritual facilitator there was Jeff, and he was mentioning, because there's a lot of psychics and mediums in Sedona, right? It's like a tourist spot for most people. But it doesn't mean that that's your label, then that means you're good at it. You know, kind of like doctors, some are like beginning, middle, or really advanced in their skills, right? So he was sharing with us that, let's say, this particular woman went to a psychic and she was told that she was going to meet a certain person and his name starts with a W, and that she's going to meet this person in 2 months. So that's the same as really having a diagnosis. You know how when the doctor tells you that you have so many months to live because you have this, let's say, stage 4 cancer. Depending on your makeup, that's what you're saying, Dr. Z, right? And the way we perceive things, and then our definition of what that diagnosis is. So this particular lady was looking for a man named W, that his name starts with a W, and that she was going to meet in a certain month, right, of the year. And unfortunately, it didn't happen. And then, of course, she came back there a few years later, becoming so distraught and confused because whatever the psychic said did not really happen. So unfortunately, when you give, what do you call it? You give power away to someone telling you that this is what's going to happen, instead of you being intuitive yourself, finding your inner guidance and really like checking in. Maybe the W was a middle name. Who knows, right? If you're looking for the wrong person or the wrong month because somebody told you that, but if your brain has that rebellious side in you, like, I know that's not going to happen, but then your logical side goes, I know that's going to happen because the psychic said so. It's the same thing, right? Almost like you have a fight inside of you trying to make yourself right, when inside subconsciously you want to make everybody wrong. Like, that's the rebellious side of you. You might want to look into that and go, how do I respond to people's opinions? Because that's probably why you're getting a lot of negative feedback or negative comments, is because perhaps that's just your personality, rebellious, and you can turn that around. That might be your challenging side. You might want to challenge everybody and prove you're right. So all those things matter. But I was just curious about that diagnosis thing. That was fun.
Yeah, in my new book, there's a chapter I was talking about how to be the medicine mage that you are really composed, not swayed by all the chaotic influence around you. Yes. One of the 12 steps is really align your expectation with your intention. So if you lost sight of your intention, and you already, just like your GPS, you tell the GPS where you want to go, but if you lost that, and where your expectation, your attention was not aligned with the destination you give the GPS, it's just like you're driving the car. You're supposed to go that way. You look that way. You give your attention that way.
Shiny object.
Something, right?
So I gotta go left. And then right. Oh my God, there's a sail over there. But then you said, no, I'm supposed to go this way. Yeah, thank you for that.
So definitely have your destination, have your intention all the time lined up with where you pay your attention, where your expectation is. When all these lined up, you will not be so much influenced by either the diagnosis and what the news says, what the doctor said, what the government said, what your mom said, what your in-law said, whatever.
Yep, exactly.
Yeah.
So Doc, what is where can they get that book, by the way?
The book is coming out next month. So my editor is still formatting, and we're going to upload soon into the Amazon. But anyone is listening today, I'm going to offer you a free copy if you just contact me. Here's my email, support at holisticwellness.com.
Okay.
And it's we were talking about, I wrote this for medical professionals, but when my last book published, a lot of reader outside the medical profession also read it, and they say, like, and one of the readers is very extreme. It's like, I'm putting this next to my Bible. I have to refer to that all the time. It's really that helpful to my readers. So whether you are a medical professional or not, you probably can read all these books.
Yeah, because doctors are humans too, right? And they also are in need of love and care and attention. And for those healthcare professionals out there, we know you're doing a great job. And so we thank you for that. We're just offering you a different way of looking at things. You're not going to have to lose all the skills you have. That was my biggest fear, by the way, is I thought, well, I'm a physical therapist, so what would happen if I become a healer? But it's interesting that that skill and knowledge has translated into just adding into my bag of skills. So sometimes it's not all spiritual, right? Not all emotional and mental, and we got to go physical. So at least I have those tools for that. So that became like just in addition to what you learn. And
like in my last book, I was talking about the quitting is not really giving up, not giving up all the things that you learned and build up with your career. It's really about upgrading.
Yes, yes. Like perhaps adding this quantum physics and a little bit more of how the universe really works through you as a doctor, as a healthcare professional, because we know everybody is meant to do something big in their lives. And so we want to make sure you have that opportunity to do that.
Yeah, I really want to give like 3 messages to all the listeners who are in the medical field. One is that you are the key factor that will bring the change to this world, because health and wellness is a big deal, right?
Yeah.
And I don't see, how we can miss that in this big transition, and you are the key person. Second is medical heroes also need to be healed.
Right.
And really the third one is to let go, be brave and let go all these that pulling you down. And this is, the book is really helping you step by step how to let go and move on, upgrading the world. And we can help people in a much better and powerful way.
Awesome. Amy, I think we have a comment.
We do have a couple of comments here. Shifra shared with us that she rarely gets depressed. She says, I have never had suicide cross my mind. I just know when I get emotional and anxious, I know something needs to change. It's my awareness sign.
Yeah, definitely.
Awesome.
And Lisa shares with us, it's important to get information from alternative healthcare as well as medicine. I look forward to reading your book.
Awesome.
That's really what I wrote this book for. And also I founded the Medicine Mage Academy. And this is where all the people want to learn all kinds of healing modality and learn all of these beyond the 3-dimensional world and exposed to higher dimension and the spirituality, or in the context of medicine. This is what it's all about. And I'm glad. And I hope you will enjoy the book.
Awesome. Thank you so much. So thank you, Dr. Z, for gracing our show today. And again, her email is support@hoeholisticwellness.com. For those of you who want to get a free book before it gets published to Amazon on how can you become your own medicine mage, perhaps even at your own home. So thank you so much for tuning in today. And next week at the same time at 12 p.m., I'm going to give you guys practical tools on surrender and release. That is our theme for October. So thank you, Amy. Thank you, Dr. Z. And thank you, everyone, for watching. We'll see you all next Tuesday at 12 p.m. Pacific time. Bye.
Thank you.